Each morning, real RSI setups are broken down with entry strategies and the technical reasoning behind every trade. This is RSI Trade of the Day with Verified Investing.
Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. Thank you guys so much for joining me at 8:45 this morning. Yesterday, we had a collection of different stocks. Some of them were going higher. Some of them were dropping sharply. I've got a mixed bag to show you guys, some that are getting into some key support levels and some that are hitting that resistance that I was mentioning to you guys yesterday. So I'm going to go over Nvidia. Nvidia has this great potential. It's not a topping tail, but it's a little doji candle. And I'll show you an upsloping trend line that it pierced and now it's starting to pull back from, and why I think that this could be a potential short-term top for Nvidia. SanDisk is another one that I'm going to go over. I was mentioning that, above $200 would be a great shortable level. It actually headed higher. I'll show you why I kind of stayed away from that in the live day trading room and why I would play it today. And then there's a couple other stocks like Stitch Fix that I'm going to go over. So you guys want to stay tuned for the whole thing so you guys get all the levels that I have. First stock that I want to go over with you guys is AVTR. So AVTR is a stock that had negative sentiment yesterday. If you notice, this is the 1 minute time frame, and this is what I like to look for as far as go to the intraday, go to the 1 minute time frame. This gives me an idea of where a potential move for the following day is going to occur. And so this allows me to get levels that are usually closer than what I would take in the live day trading room. So AVTR had this nice surge in the early morning, right about 9:30, and then this slow fade. After morning session kind of faded, and then towards the afternoon, the selling pressure continued. You notice how the RSI did try to get above the 70. Price action tried to head a little bit higher, but then the sellers joined in droves and push this stock down. So then what I do is I go to the daily time frame. And so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch over. Now, where is the next level of support? Normally in the live day trading room, I'd look for a 10, 15, 20% move to the upside. If I see a stock like this has gone down 9, 10%, I can actually look for like a 3 or 4% pullback. And so basically it's like a continuation. It's selling pressure, push the stock down. And so it can continue a little bit lower, but once the buyers step in and the sellers step out of the way, it can catapult this thing like a springboard effect. And so I don't need as big of a pullback based on the yesterday's price action. That's one of the benefits of using the RSI in the pre-market or the intraday from the previous day. So you have this gap fill sitting at 1146. So this would be the first level. It is at this level right now. So I would wait for this low pivot at $11.02. But ultimately, I think AVTR is getting down to this low pivot. This would be the double bottom at $10.83. This is where I'd be looking to play AVTR for a long position. If it closes below this low pivot, it's probably going to want to go lower. And so on a 15-minute closing basis, I would stop out of this trade, make sure that you save the capital and look for another support level. But based on the fact that it's been so oversold over the last intraday yesterday, it's due for a pretty significant bounce. All right, let's go ahead and go to SanDisk. SanDisk is one of my favorite stocks. So when I look at trading, I mentioned that $200 was my upside target for SanDisk. When I mentioned that, I like that to get up there within the first, 20, 30, even hour in the morning session, essentially. When you get some bullish sentiment and then sideways consolidation with the RSI never piercing the 30, that stock is going to float. And so I actually stayed away from this. I didn't trade this yesterday, but I'm looking to trade this today. Look at what happened. So on the 29th, so yesterday, this is the 1 minute time frame. Look at the RSI. You notice how it never got below the 30? Price action headed higher as anticipated. And then you had this sideways chop. This is a bull flag, meaning that people are bullish on this and the price action could head higher. And that's what happened. It headed up to the $200 even number. The volatility wasn't there, so I had to stay away from it. And in the pre-market, it got up to about $212. I was mentioning that $200 is my max upside, but when price action continues sideways, there is nothing you can do. Price action just can continue higher. So today I'm looking to short SNDK at $212. This is one of those stocks that I'm going to stay in a little bit longer. I'm going to dollar cost average. So 212 is my first entry price on this. And then you look for a price target of like right around $215, and then could go up to 220, but I don't see it going above 212 today, really. But 215 is like my max upside. So I would dollar cost average into this and wait for a substantial move to the downside. So let's go to the daily time frame. Look at the volatility. So price action, as you can see, there wasn't a lot of volatility starting from the 4th of September. It was just a slow grind up. You had a tiny pullback and then just continue float up. Bullish consolidation, so sideways chop action right above previous resistance, and then this catapult. Now all of a sudden, you're getting these big pullbacks, so 12, 13% pullbacks, and then a 23% move from this pivot. This is getting juicy for volatility, so that's why I like that $212 level. Okay, so another stock that I'm looking at is SW. That was another stock that was getting beaten up. So we're going to go to the 1 minute time frame, show you the setup, why I'm bearish on this, at least in the morning session. And then once it gets into a key support level, we can go long on this thing. So SW is the stock. Look at what happened. Just like the other stocks, RSI stayed really low, stayed at the 30. You notice it never got above the 70. So this is why I look at yesterday's price action on the 1 minute to dictate where I feel like price action is going to go. RSI stayed low. Price action just continue to sell off. Now go to the daily time frame, restore the connection. Now here are a couple pivots. So you've got this low pivot point right here. This is going to be your first support level. You notice yesterday you had a really big sell-off. Today, I'm not looking for the same type of move. I'm looking for about a 2, maybe a 3% pullback. So this would be your first area of support. I would actually stay away from this level because there's a gap fill at $36.72. So see this red bar candle. So this was the opening price, or excuse me, the closing price on a red bar candle. Price action gapped above that, creating this little bit of a space. So as price action gets into this $36.22 level, there are going to be some buyers in this support level. So this is where I'm looking to go long on a day trade. So because of the previous day sell-off and a continuation today, if it can get down into that level, that would only be a 4% move to the downside. Now you can actually look for price action to get at least back up to this low pivot. So you're looking for about a 3, 4, maybe a 5% pullback. A bounce off of this $36.32 level. If price action closes below this on a 15-minute closing candle, I would stop out of the $36.32 level. Okay, now let's go ahead and go into Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix beaten up. Again, looking at the 1 minute time frame, seeing what price action did. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Price action just faded, started in the morning session, and then continued to float lower. The RSI stayed low all morning into the afternoon session. And so then we go to the daily time frame to see where the next support level is. So I've got this line already drawn in at $3.98. So essentially a pierce of $4 is where Stitch Fix is looking to pick up some support. You may get some just above the $4 level, but $3.98 is where I like. And I'm going to zoom out of the charts. Look at all of this previous support and resistance. So you got this pivot high right here. As you notice, price, when it was below it, gets rejected. Price gets above it. It starts to get a bid. So this $3.98 level on SFIX is where I would be looking to go long for a day trade. Now, the last stock that I'm going to go over is Nvidia. So I called a pierce of $200, $210 on Nvidia. Let's go to the daily time frame. So why was I able to say $2 on Nvidia or $210? You had this good price action, this good selling in the morning session. This is on Tuesday. And then all of a sudden, you had this market sentiment that catapulted Nvidia up into the next day. And then so yesterday we had this good price action. It headed even higher. And then it started trading at, it opened up and gapped up at $207. So on the daily time frame, I have this upsloping trend line. So you got this low pivot here, secondary hit here. So this is a support level until price action is broken, got below it. And so when price action gets above it, it's likely to get rejected and pulled back underneath. So $210 is where I said I'd enter. And I actually did. I entered this trade at $210 and I added to the position at $212. This was a trade that we ended up getting into and taking about $2,800. Now that price action is getting back below, your first support level is going to be 201. Once this support level fails, there's not a lot of support until $193. So overall, I'm loving the price action of Nvidia. Like I mentioned yesterday, $210 from me is that max upside. That is where Nvidia is looking to put in a top. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys can pick up some of these trades like a couple other members. I did have some questions about CRDO, which I will go over tomorrow. If I mention a trade and it doesn't play out exactly the way it was, or that it happened to, that I mentioned, or if it starts going in that direction, sometimes you got to take the bull by the horn and navigate that thing, put in a stop loss, put in a trailing stop, whatever you need to do to protect your trade. Because like SanDisk, right? I predicted it could go even lower than that gap fill. As soon as that gap was filled, it just ripped higher and headed up back up to $200 and got up to 212. So sometimes that happens, right? So protect yourself, do what you need to do. And then I'll try to navigate you guys through the trades as best as I can. I'll show you what the RSI is telling me that's going to happen in the stock. So that's all I can do. Just play the probabilities. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Gareth Soloway is going to be going live in less than 3 minutes on my trading game plan. It's a mixed bag as far as the market's going. There's some earnings that are skyrocketing, very few, but most of them are getting beaten up. So there's some divergence here in the stock market. So anyway, thank you guys so much again. And we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.